everyone. Welcome back to the Command Your Brand Show. I am your host, Jeremy Ryan Slate, the CEO and co-founder of Command Your Brand. And we help brands to command their brand and make a bigger impact out there. If you want to grab our #1 PR book, it's over at bestpodcastbook.com. Reminder, if you're brand new to this channel, to like this video, leave us a comment, and also smash that subscribe button if you want to command your brand and make a bigger impact out there. Today, our guest is someone that's doing some very cool things out there in the world of business growth. Cary Prejean, thanks for hanging out with me today, sir.
Hey, thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
So for people that may not be familiar with you and what you do, sir, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I have an accounting background, CPA, come from that discipline. Over the years, I saw that most business owners didn't really know how to interpret their financial statements, their financial data, that they were generally very good at whatever it was they got started the business, generating revenue, and they're very good at being visionaries. They're not very good at everything else. And the problem over time, as they grew the business a little more and more, here's the thing: the business is like their baby, right? So they want to make sure the baby's well taken care of. They find it very hard to entrust the baby over to people working in the organization. So what they get trapped in is being very committed to having things done their way. And most business owners are not good at accounting. They, unless they're an engineer, they're not good at engineering. They're not good at production. They're not good at logistics. They're not good at inventory. They're good at generating revenue and being the visionary. But say 10 years into it, they've got their fingers in everything, right? So number one, they don't have any time to do the two things they do best. And number two, they're creating bottlenecks because they're insisting my way, which is rarely the best way. So that's what I got involved in, helping business owners to take their hands out of the business so they can go do the things that are most beneficial for the business, but also give them some financial foundational footing, so to speak, to be able to manage by the numbers. Everybody talks about managing by the numbers. Very few people even know what that means. And everybody talks about, I want to take my business to the next level. And again, most people don't know what that means, but next level is where the business works for you, to where you don't have to fool with it day to day. You can go take 4 weeks off if you want to. You can go sabbatical, go recharge your batteries, whatever it is, and really spend most of your time doing the visionary and primary revenue generator for the business. If that gives you some background.
So let me ask you this. Let's talk about that gap between, as you were saying, somebody that, they're a good operator, they're good at what they do, but they need to start getting other people to do those things. I guess, what do you think causes that gap? I guess, what do you think is the thing that makes most people get stuck in that?
Well, again, it's my baby. Don't tell me I have an ugly baby. I have a beautiful baby. I don't know if I should trust you with my baby. So they have a hard time just completely letting go. And I hear that from owners on, how can I turn over running the business to my people? I don't trust them to do that. You're right. You don't trust them. And guess what? They know you don't trust them. And in converse, they don't trust you either. And the saying I have is, if until you step back, they can't step up. If you're always in there meddling day to day, you're not doing it my way, you're not doing it my way, you're not doing it my way, they will never step up. In fact, you've trained them not to step up. You've trained them not to think outside the box. You train them not to take extra effort. They're going to do what they got to do to get a paycheck, and they're going to go home. So a lot of it, the big trap is insisting on my way and staying in the day-to-day process.
So how do we start confronting that, Ten? Because the thing that came to mind is, I have a really good friend, been in business a number of years, and this individual has a very successful design company. And she's really good at what she does, but she's like, I also have to sell it too, because nobody can sell it like me. And that's something that keeps the business small, right? It keeps you at a certain size. Yeah. And I guess when you're looking at it, how do you start to pull some of those tasks off and actually empower others? What does that process look like?
Right. So the big thing for business owners to do, which they generally have a hard time doing, is being crystal clear, what results do you want produced versus how do you want them produced? There's the old analogy. You tell 10 people to go build a fence, you'll probably get 10 different looking fences, because everybody has their own idea what a fence is, right? So rather than saying, I want it done like this, and it's basically that this is the way we do things around here, say, these are the results I want produced. And then let the person who has the expertise to do those things come up with the way it gets done, rather than the owner continue to insist that it be done my way. That's really hard for them to do because they know that their way works to an extent, right? So they have a hard time trusting if I let them do it their way, we're going to still get results. Or can we get better results? They don't think about that.
So how do you balance that? Like, as a business owner, it's your baby. There's a certain, end product you want. You want to empower people to do it their way, but like, I guess, how do you make sure that the result that's getting created is still what you want and what you want the business to do, but at the same time, you're empowering those people to do it your way?
Okay. And one, being crystal clear about the results you want in detail, not the way they're done, but what results you want. So let's say accounting. You want a dashboard every week showing your receivables, your payables, your inventory, your cash projection for the next 6 to 10 weeks, your sales month to date, week to date, year to date, quarter to date, all that compared to budget. In other words, you're going to be real specific, and then they're going to produce a result or not, right? You just have exactly what you want, and are they producing it consistently? And when they're not, you need to find out what's going on that you didn't. I was real clear about this. Not why didn't you do it my way, but what's going on that this result is not being produced. And generally, there's a learning opportunity for both the owner and the person doing the work. And sometimes they're just not that clear because the owner wasn't that clear. I mean, I was in a strategy meeting last week with clients in South Florida. 2 days. And the owner kept saying, or one of the owners kept saying, yeah, but they don't know, I forget what function it was about. They don't know what they're doing. I said, do you know what you want, results you want? He goes, yeah. I said, have you put it down in detail in writing to show them exactly what? Well, no. I said, could you do it now? Could you do it tonight as an exercise? Well, I don't know, because it's all in his head, and it's all in his head doing it my way. He was still collapsing domains between what I want done versus the way I would do it. You have to give up the way I want it done. You would just need to focus on the results.
So I guess from that perspective, like something that would concern me as a business owner is I can see that it's good to empower people. It's good to let them do it their way. But what if that person, they have a life change, they move, they don't work for me anymore? I guess how important is putting together a process off of, what that person's doing?
Processes are crucial, in my opinion, to having a business that will run itself. And I don't mean by run itself, but you have a leadership team that can manage the business where you're freed from the business. Think of it this way. Mm-hmm. Any fast food restaurant, you can get 5 to 7 teenagers and they'll run it like clockwork. Why? Because they have processes. Everybody knows how to make the fries. Everybody knows how to make the Royale with cheese. A better example that I really like is the deck of an aircraft carrier. You have decks that are elevating along, taking warplanes up and down, launching them with superheated steam. And you have these flight deck crew that it's hyper coordinated. Everybody knows exactly what to do. Everybody knows exactly what everybody else is supposed to do. How's that? And again, think of it this way. And it's generally run by 18 to 20-year-olds. Think of most 18 to 20-year-olds today who live in their parents' basement playing video games, eating cheese puffs all day. You wouldn't trust them near the deck of an aircraft carrier. But these soldiers, these Navy crewmen, have been drilled to where they know exactly what they're supposed to do. It's very clear what the process is. That makes sense? So in a business, I'm not saying you have to drill like a deck of an aircraft carrier, but to have real clear processes like a fast food restaurant of this is the way we do, billing. This is the way we do collections. This is the way we review things. This is the way we do the financial statements. This is the way we do inventory. This is the way we do purchasing. This is how we determine what needs to be purchased and when and how we get purchase orders out, et cetera. When you have all that like a recipe, not like some long narrative that nobody's going to read, but like a recipe, do this, do that, do this, do that. When that's real clear and you can get somebody who's not that familiar with it to come in and read the process and actually be able to do it, you've got a good process.
What's really...
Go ahead. No, I was going to say what happens a lot of times, people who've been doing it a while, we all have what's called a background of obviousness, right? There's certain things you've just been doing so long, it's just, you don't even think about all the little intermediate steps. So that's
an excellent point, by the way, because we just don't think of what other people wouldn't notice.
Right. So in writing the process, you'll, out of your assumptions of, everybody knows. What was I told the other day? I made some comment about I forget what now. It's a thing about some guy getting stung by bees. And I said, are those bees a wasp? He said, what does it matter? I said, well, if a bee stings you, generally they die because your skin is too tough for them to pull the barb and the end of their stinger out. Wasps can sting you over and over again, and they're much more painful. And he said, well, you're just stating the obvious. I said, most 20-year-olds, they don't know how to read a clock face. They don't know who the vice president is. They don't know what the 4th of July is about. No, it's not obvious. It's not known. So, in a process, if you go to say, well, you go to the accounts payable thing and you open it up, like, okay, how do you do that? What's the software we've been talking about? And how do you see, screenshots of what the screen will look like? And this is where you go to, this is the button you hit, these are the fields you enter, that down to that kind of detail, to where you don't have to have the same background of obviousness to be able to do the process. That makes sense?
No, it totally does. And actually, this is something. So we've been in business just about 10 years, closing in on that. And I feel like I look at my own viewpoint over the years, how it's changed a lot. Like I was somebody that got into this business because I was very technical and I was very able to do it. And the thing you have to get good at is realizing as an executive, like you're building like the lines for other people to actually work on and produce on, right? So your actual job is handling slowdowns in lines or log jams or missing training or things like that. So when I've actually started putting together training in the last couple of years, what I actually do is, since we're virtual, is I do like screen recordings where I do like narration, but narration to the point that it's really crazy obvious. Like move over to the right, go down, because then what I can do with that transcript is I can feed that transcript into an AI to help me write the process and make it smoother. And then I read the process and make sure it's actually like English, because AI doesn't always do a great job in English. Right. So, but like when you do it that way, you can build a real process where, I hired a new video editor about 6 months ago. And I'm like, all right, here's the full process. And he's doing everything just as good as or better than the guy that was previously there, because he had stepped into a full process that was working. So it just goes to say, along what you're talking about here.
Yeah. So the process you built for this guy, this is how we do the fries, right? Mm-hmm. Drop the basket with the fries in. When the buzzer sounds, you take them out, let it drip for whatever it is, 2 minutes.
That's 100% true, because, and then, somebody can have their own creativity, like within that, like, okay, well, how can I improve on this process and how can I do it better? But like, I don't have to come up with something brand new. And I think as an executive, if you're putting those lines there, well, okay, then you can say, okay, things aren't flowing well. Well, what's broken, rather than like, I don't really have a process to fix.
Right. And here's a thing that I try and instill in all of my clients is having a process. Having an ongoing process when there is a bottleneck, when there is a system a process that's broken, how do you go about coming up with the process, documenting it, and make sure that everybody knows about it, and make sure that everybody's followed by all?
I'm curious as well if you've seen this with clients, because I think a lot of things that people don't consider is like, okay, the process is broken, it's bottleneck somewhere, like, but what is your process to then go through and actually fix that, right? Like not a lot of people actually have a process to fix that. And I guess when you're talking to clients about that, I guess what kind of suggestions do you make to them in fixing bottlenecks and things when they come up, even if we do have a process?
Right. Well, first thing is get the owner out of the way, because the owner generally is the bottleneck, and about half my clients realize, yeah, we're the bottleneck. We're clear about that. You should have some form of what I call leadership team. Some people who are going to actually help you manage the business. And there's a big difference between being an entrepreneur and being a manager, right? I mean, the skill sets are almost diametrically opposed. That's why entrepreneurs make such bad managers, and why good managers are not going to make good entrepreneurs. So you get the entrepreneur out of the way, because they're going to be all over the place, and they're going to really be insisting on my way, because I started the company, it's my company, I should know how to do this. So get them out of the way, and then get information, especially from the employees and the leadership team, on what are the bottlenecks, and ask them, what is the bottleneck, not why is the bottleneck? Because a lot of them want to come up with stories like, well, because so-and-so over there is not doing their job, this is what's going on. No, what is it that's happening or not happening that's creating the bottleneck? Don't assign blame. Don't try and make it somebody's fault. And then from there, it's like, okay, so what do we need to do? What does the process need to look like? What are the missing steps? What are the steps we need to take out that we can document like a recipe form, put it in writing, make sure everybody reads it, make sure everybody understands it, and make sure that it works.
So you spoke earlier, Cary, about that next level and how a lot of people don't understand, what does it look like? Where do they go? And I guess When you talk to clients and when you're working, like, what does the next level look like to you? And I guess what should we do to better describe what that next level looks like so we can actually reach it?
Right. Again, this is my definition, my assessment.
Sure.
Next level is where the business runs itself, right? You have a team that manages the business for you. And again, your two primary jobs are visionary and primary revenue generator. I'm sorry, I just got a little distraction here. So, and that you're doing that, and that's really where you're spending almost all your time. And again, now as the owner, you still want to get what I call a weekly dashboard that shows you what's going on with your receivables, your payables, your inventory, your sales, that your taxes are being filed and paid, all the different KPIs. You want to have it in a dashboard that you and your leadership team can review. And from a 10,000 foot view, you can see there's something going wrong. Just like the gauges on your dashboard, you don't pay attention for the most part, except when they start flashing something's wrong. That's what dashboards are for the business owners, that you get a weekly dashboard and it shows you all the stuff you need to pay attention to, all the key performance indicators. And if something's going wrong, somebody on your leadership team should already be on top of it and giving you, this is what's going on, and here's the solution I'm putting in. As an owner, you don't want to get involved in that because, again, every time the owner gets involved and has to fix things, it's a message to the people who are supposed to be handling it. You're not competent. I don't trust you to handle it, right? And with that kind of consistent message, at some point, they'll get, I'm not competent. He doesn't trust me. Why should I make the effort?
So, Cary, let me ask you this. You mentioned the dashboard, and you mentioned, we're kind of good unless there's lights on. Well, if you're driving down the highway and that check engine light starts flashing, you got some big problems. You need to pull over that car immediately. I guess when you're looking at your dashboard as a business owner, like, what would you say is like that flashing check engine light? What's that thing?
It depends. It could be in your cash projection for the next 6-10 weeks. All of a sudden, there's some big payment that's coming up, or revenue dropped off and you expect your collections to drop off, or you've got some banknote that needs redoing, or whatever. These icebergs, as I call them, icebergs that are coming through your cash flow. You need somebody to say, hey, we got an iceberg coming up in 6 weeks and you do something about it. It could be sales. Sales suddenly drops off. Sales is suddenly 50% of budget. What can you do about it in this month? In other words, don't wait until next month when you get your financial statements on the 20th of next month to see that you were 40% off on sales last month. Nothing you can do about it. If you're getting weekly dashboards and you see sales are off, maybe you can call some customers. That's one of your big responsibilities, to be the primary revenue generator. Maybe check with the sales team if you have one and see what jobs, what proposals they have out there that maybe you can help close. That kind of thing. Maybe you can call some customers, hey, I need your help. Can you buy some stuff in advance? I'll give you 5%, 10% discount. When you have big warning signs, and the thing is, you shouldn't have all of a sudden it's flashing red, the engine's about to freeze up. You should have small warning signs, and if you don't handle them, they get to be bigger warning signs, right? And again, your leadership team should be on top of all that all the time. If they're not, if you have, say you want one person on your leadership team constantly really not aware of what's going on, not handling stuff, you replace them.
That's a really good point too, because it's you get to 80,000 miles, man. You got to replace those. You got to replace those ignition coils, or you're going to develop a misfire that's going to make that light flash. So it's also continuing to do the right maintenance to your business, right? Like looking at the right things, doing the right things, running the right programs, so that hopefully you don't have a flashing red light.
Right, and again that is handled in the strategic planning, where you're designing the business into the future. You're developing best practices all the time. You're developing your team. You're positioning your business to be where you want it to be when you're ready to punch out. Rather than we just keep doing what we've been doing for the last 10, 15, 20 years, and at some point wonder why it doesn't work so well anymore, which is a lot of businesses.
What would you say is the number one piece of advice that you give to clients, Cary? Like, what is that? What is that thing?
Do what you do. Well, it's a couple of things. Do what you do best. Be the visionary and be the main revenue generator. Make sure, develop a team that can manage the business for you, to where you're not having to do it every day. That's your least and worst use. You want to do your best use for the business. Number 2 is concentrate on what I call satisfaction. And satisfaction to me, satisfaction equals enough action. And if you never, let me say it this way, most people walk around in life going, if only my life were more, better, different, I'd be happy. They never define what more, better, different is. Is it more money? Is it a better job? Is it a, different relationship? What is it? So until and again, this all goes back to a mentor of mine told me, this is like, I don't know, 35 years ago. He asked me if I want to know the secret of life. And I said, absolutely. He said, well, it's getting exactly what you want, being ultimately satisfied. I said, man, that's great. He goes, and most people never achieve it. I said, I have no idea. He says, because they don't know what they want. They've never taken the time to ask themselves, what would satisfy me? So as a business owner, this is for your personal life, for your business. In other words, what is enough action in all these different areas, as many details as you can get, that would be enough action that you would be satisfied in terms of revenue, in terms of profit, in terms of your time that's needed to be in the business, for your own personal income. How much time can you take off? What kind of culture do you want to have in your business? What kind of employees do you want to have in your business? What areas you want to market to? What product lines and services you want to offer? As many details as you can come up with. And here's the catch. When you first start this, it's going to be kind of really opaque and cloudy and fuzzy, and you're not sure. And over time, it's going to take you getting some of those things you thought you wanted to find out, this ain't it. I had a client one time who was in the geotextile business, and he thought it'd be a great idea to get into the landfill business where you sold geo stuff, but it would seal the landfill so we didn't have seepage. Well, he got into the logistics nightmare of having these crews all over the Southeast United States. And next thing you knew, he was upside down in that business, and it almost took him down. And we were able to work it out to where, we eventually closed that part of the business out, and he's doing extraordinarily well now. But he had to find out that being in the landfill business and selling this particular product line really wasn't what he wanted, even though at some point he thought he did. And you'll find that out in business. You just want to, what's the expression they say now? You want to fail fast. If it's not going to work out for you, you want to find out fast, cut your losses, and move on.
Cary, I've really enjoyed this conversation. For people that are listening, if they want to connect with you, if they want to find out more about what you're doing, where's going to be the best place for our listeners to go?
Probably the best place would be my website, strategicbusinessadvisors.org, strategicbusinessadvisors, plural.org. And they can schedule a free consultation with me there. They can read more about what I do, read more about me, some of the things we offer. There's a few articles I've written there. There's several podcasts that I've been on. They can watch that.
Very cool. Well, Cary Prejean, thank you so much for hanging out with me today, sir.
Thank you, Jeremy. I enjoyed it.